Vax entered the meeting room. Immediately she locked eyes with Foxtrot. Foxtrot looked up and said, "I was just going to look for you." "Where have you been?" Miser asked. "I tried something, but I'm not sure it'll work." A flash of light filled the room and Nick fell onto the meeting room table, disrupting them and drawing attention. Vax's eyes glowed. "Nick, tell me you..." Nick held up the Rev Stone in plain view of the people in the room. "Is that?" Miser stared at the stone. "Yeah." Nick nodded and tried to right himself on the table. "Where am I? Is this the right place?" "Yes," Vax smiled. "But this isn't over. Hand over the stone." Nick tossed the stone to Vax and she caught it. "Let's hope this works." Vax set down her box and touched the top panel. It spun open, and in a bright flash of light, she and Nick were transported to the Extraverse. "The hell is this place?" Nick stood up in the empty whiteness. Vax approached the far left door and opened it. She was greeted by the 5 thrones of the 5 emissaries. Nick stepped in, looking around in awe. "Vax?" The Paradox Master nodded. Time watched over Vax suspiciously. Celeste adjusted himself in his seat. Life craned her head up and stared at Nick. Death picked at his wing feathers. "Why are you here?" the Paradox Master asked. Vax held out her hand and held her palm up, fingers spread wide. The Sentinel's Rev Stone glowed in her hand. "I need you to bring the Sentinel back to life," Vax pleaded. "You know I can't do that," the Paradox Master said. "You've been lying to everyone and yourself. You can. You just don't want to." Life spoke up. "Reanimation from an imperfect Rev Stone like that of a dead man comes with many dire side effects. It would not be worth the pain. If the Sentinel is resurrected, he'll be resurrected as a plasma ghost. He won't be able to fight with plasma or even phase. He won't be entirely alive. Vax, it isn't worth it." The Paradox Master tried to convince her. "I would know." The Paradox Master glanced at his amulet. "It isn't his fighting skills we need," Vax begged. "I can control plasma, so can Vogar and even you. It's his mind we need, his heart. It's the Sentinel we need." Nick stood silent, still confused at what was happening, and in awe of the emissaries of the Extraverse. The Paradox Master looked toward life and death. "What do you think?" he asked them. Death grumbled as he looked at Time. "You of all of us would know. Do we need the Sentinel?" Time nodded. "His existence may be worth the cost of his resurrection. But, ultimately, the choice is yours, Vax Perrier." The Paradox Master stood from his throne and approached Vax. "The problem is, with an imperfect Rev Stone like this one, we can't resurrect his body. The stone only contains his mind. He needs a new mortal shell." Life flew from her perch and landed next to the Paradox Master. Death followed closely after. "I'm used to that," Vax said. Life tilted her head curiously. "We're used to that. He's used to that. That's what I meant. It's nothing he hasn't experienced before." Vax set down the stone on the ground. "Please, just bring back the Sentinel." Life's wings glowed bright white. Death flew above her, and his eyes glowed a deep dark red. White glowing smoke swam through the air in front of Life. Black gaseous plasma circled the smoke and closed it in. The shape of a body lying down started to take form. The glowing black and white figure was rotated to a standing position. Both Vax and Nick stepped back. The Paradox Master lifted the stone from the ground with a weak trail of plasma. He lifted it to the chest of the figure, and it emanated plasmatic flames. The flames infused with the gas and became one with the figure. The black gaseous wispy plasma formed a cloth, much like the Paradox Master's old cloak, around the figure. Bright skin shone from behind the gas and smoke as it faded. Hair fell over the figure's shoulders. The figure fell to the ground and gasped for air. The Rev Stone remained implanted in the figure's chest, glowing and pulsating with new life. "Sentinel?" Vax exclaimed. But... Nick stuttered, confused. The Sentinel looked up at Vax. Vax stared, mouth agape with shock as she analyzed the Sentinel's new face. Life pulled her head back, and her eyes widened. She and Death shared a quick glance. "Oh." Life looked away. "When making a new body, it's a flip of a coin," she explained. "We don't get to choose the specifics." "You're beautiful." Vax stared at the Sentinel's new figure and long dark hair. "I'm alive?" The Sentinel spoke. She heard her own voice, and looked down at her new body. "I'm a woman, but I'll be damned if I'm alive right now." Her hand found the stone in her chest. She looked at her hair and her dress of dark plasma cloth. "I am." She chuckled, then remembered something. "I was dead. Like, completely dead." She turned around and confronted the Paradox Master. "You could resurrect people this whole time?" "That isn't really the case here. You aren't alive, Sentinel." The Paradox Master looked into her dark, near lifeless eyes. "What do you mean?" The Sentinel asked. She was taking heavy breaths like air was a commodity. Her hands were fidgeting, and she felt her clothes like the sense of touch was a rarity. Vax stood back in awe, admiring the Sentinel up and down, her face beaming with a wide smile. "You're a plasma ghost. A strong one. You look mostly alive. You're basically alive, but..." The Sentinel looked down at her fingers. She tried to spark them with plasma, but all that came from them was the wispy, dark, gaseous plasma. Not a flame, but not dissimilar. She flinched. Don't do that. The Paradox Master held out his hand, cupping them over hers. The Sentinel flinched. I was going to say that you're basically alive, except you can't control plasma the way you used to. You'll create dark plasma. The trouble is, its power is sourced from you, and so the more of it you create, the more energy you're taking from yourself. Your plasma ghost will deteriorate until you eventually... Poof. Death finished the thought. The Paradox Master returned to his throne and sat down. Yeah, I guess you could say that. And don't let your guard down. You can die a normal death as a plasma ghost, just as you are. Though if you do use up your powers, which fate is worse? The Sentinel asked. The Paradox Master and Death shared a look. The Paradox Master turned back. Poof, he said. Well, the Sentinel looked at herself as she turned around. Guess I'll avoid figuring out whatever that means. After she turned around, she looked up and saw Nick. Who are you? She asked. Nick Tempest. Nick introduced himself. The Sentinel smiled. Nick Amicus Tempest, I thought I'd never see you again. Look at you, so grown up. She chuckled. Vax. Never die again, Vax scolded the Sentinel. She couldn't hold a straight face for long before she smiled and came in for a hug. The Sentinel was delayed in a return embrace. The Sentinel laughed. You saved me, didn't you? She asked. You're alive. Vax hugged her tight, and a tear streamed down her face as her arms tightened around her. I wish I said it earlier. I thought I lost the chance. Sentinel, I love you. What? The Sentinel's face drained of color and became blank. Vax's fingers pushed through the Sentinel's hair. The Paradox Master's smile faded. Nick looked around awkwardly like he didn't belong. He nodded at Celeste. Sup? Celeste nodded back, silently. Time glanced at him. I always have. Vax loosened the embrace and stepped back, her hands on the Sentinel's shoulders. She stared into her eyes. You should see yourself. Vax... The Sentinel paused. I don't know what to say. The Paradox Master gripped the armrest of his throne. Don't say anything. Vax grabbed the back of the Sentinel's head, and they kissed. When they pulled away, the Sentinel chuckled. Vax, The Sentinel gestured to herself. Do you really think that ever mattered? That never mattered. Vax chuckled. I hear that you're alive. I want to live my life with you. Leaving you all those years ago was a mistake. You made me who I am today. You helped me reach my dreams. I loved you since that day on Titan. And I've loved every version of you since. I don't care what you look like so long as you're still you. The Sentinel smiled. I wouldn't be who I am without you either. Maybe we are made for each other. What about Amara? The Paradox Master stood up. Nick looked up, hearing the name of his mother. The Sentinel and Vax turned their attention to the Paradox Master. It's been years. The Sentinel turned around slowly. I loved her, but I had to let her go or it would have crushed me. I've moved on. I haven't. The Paradox Master clenched his fist. Amara would want you to. She would want me to. The Sentinel talked back. Sentinel... Vax held on to the Sentinel. I can't move on. The Paradox Master stepped from his throne. It's been much, much longer for you. I think you need to. The Sentinel stepped forward and away from Vax. Immortality is a curse, Sentinel. A year in the life of a 5-year-old is 1/5 their life. To a 50-year-old, a year is merely 1/50th. Sentinel, I've been alive for 5 million years. A year is nothing to me. I can't remember anything if it isn't a constant in my life. I can't even remember what I did a few thousand years ago, let alone a few million. I can't remember her. Her laugh, her smile. Sometimes I almost forget her name. This, the Paradox Master gestured toward the Revstone amulet hanging around his neck, is my only reminder that she was even real. And that taught me something. It taught me to never let go of what you have, because eventually, you won't be able to hold on anymore. I can't move on because I can't afford to. Please don't let go. The extroverse remained quiet for a few moments before the Sentinel spoke softly. I'm not you. I'm sorry. Yeah, you don't know the half of it. The Paradox Master scoffed. Leave. He turned around back for his throne. Paradox Master, Vax spoke up. Leave! The Paradox Master knocked a stone from his throne, crumbling an armrest. The Sentinel looked at Vax and at Nick. They left the extroverse in a flash. The three of them appeared in the Sentinel's lab. Nick, do you want to go home? Vax asked. I think I'll stay here if that's alright with guest rooms down the hall on the right. The Sentinel sat down on her couch and rested her head in her hands. Vax sat down next to her and leaned against her. How are you feeling? She asked. Well, I was beheaded. Closed my eyes, next thing I know I'm a woman. Well, that and I'm alive. The Sentinel pointed out. Crazy day. That's good. Vax smiled. And now I'm with you? The Sentinel said as Vax leaned her head on the Sentinel's shoulder. I hope you think that's good. Vax smiled. It is. It feels right. We're equals. I know you're safe, even with me. The Sentinel paused for a moment. It's just Amara? Vax asked. I don't know. The Sentinel sighed. It's everything. When this is all over, Vax leaned away and looked at the Sentinel. I know a perfect town where we can live on Amalga 5. You can save the multiverse. We can save the multiverse. We're a powerhouse, you and I. I know we can. We got this. And when it's over, we have a life to look forward to. A normal life. The Sentinel smiled, like misers. Vax smiled too. A normal life. I just hope we can end this soon. The Sentinel looked at Vax. I think we can. We've been through everything. What's the end of the universe to us?